everyone. Welcome to the BEwell Hub, a dynamic space for coaches, entrepreneurs, and growth-minded individuals to inspire and support each other on our journey to success and well-being. Today's webinar is entitled Your Ikigai Navigator, Finding True Orientation in Your Life. This session will uncover the authentic essence of Ikigai, a concept deeply rooted in the Japanese philosophy of finding purpose and value in life. Our guest speaker, topic facilitator, Debbie Spaltman, will accompany us on the journey to authentic Ikigai exploration. So let me introduce you to Debbie Spaltman. Debbie is a dedicated executive and personal life coach, known for her ability to ask transformative questions that ignite growth and self-awareness. Her coaching style blends a rich tapestry of techniques from executive coaching using the Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered executive and team coaching process to personal coaching for life and career questions. With over 35 years of experience, she specializes in fostering self-efficacy, compassionate leadership, and extraordinary success in executives and teams. Her approach is more than just achieving professional milestones. It's about guiding individuals and teams towards meaningful impact and personal fulfillment. So today, welcome to Debbie Spaltman, and to our participants, our guests, and the topic is Ikigai. So Debbie, could you just throw some light on this philosophy of life and purpose?
Thank you, Gary. Wow, I'm really humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much, and for the opportunity to talk to you guys today about this, because it's a topic that I've recently started delving deeper into. First time I did a presentation on it was back in 2017, 2018 or something. And I was a victim to the scandal, which I will talk about in a little bit. You know, Ikigai, let me just ask you guys, does anyone here have any information? Or better said, what information do you have on Ikigai? What do you know about Ikigai? You tell me. Tell me first. Anything at all? Anything at all?
Is it a way of living? It's a way of approaching life?
Yeah. Good way of putting it. Yeah. Stephen.
So I've heard that it's this concept of finding your joy or purpose in life, right? It's your ultimate joy in effect.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. Miriam or Sandy, do you guys have any idea about what Ikigai is? Nope. Okay. So both are right. You are both right, but that's only a very small part of it. It's actually a lot more. Ikigai is two words. Iki stands for life, and Gai stands for the value or worth, or, you know, when you say something like, that was worth my time, spending my time there. That was worth putting the effort into it. That is an Ikigai moment. That's an Ikigai moment, right? So Ikigai, it's a Japanese concept, translates into a reason for being. You know, it's the reason you wake up in the morning. It's not just about your profession or your work or your hobby. It's whatever it is, whatever purpose you think gives your life meaning. So it's what gives you joy and fulfillment. It's about you're finding value and satisfaction in your day-to-day activities and the roles you're fulfilling. And it also includes your community, your social network. It includes your health, your social network, and all of those things. And the origin is, it was more or less, has its roots in the island of Okinawa in Japan. And mainly because it was studied, because it's one of those so-called blue zones where one of the many 100-year-old people, or most, they have a lot of 100-year-old people there, and they studied that. They wanted to study, why are these people getting, how is it that these people get so old, and they are healthy in their old age. And they did some research on it, and one of the things is, of course, their nutrition, their exercise, their physical health. So they don't have buses there. I read that they don't have buses on in that town where the oldest folks are. They have to do everything when they either walking or riding bicycles. So they're doing a lot of physical exercise. They're keeping moving. And the interviews that they did with these folks were like, they were all laughing and smiling. And how did I get to be 107 years old? Well, let me ask my girlfriend. Let me give her a kiss first, and they would have jokes like this. They would be playing games. I mean, you have centenarians, I guess that's how you call them, that are playing games, and they're not sitting on a porch rocking in a chair or being fed by a spoon. They're actually living their life to the fullest. And so the study here has been that Ikigai has been a way of blending their own personal life with their societal roles, which is actually different to what our contemporary interpretation of it is. Gary, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, can we sort of keep it all open? So if someone wants, they've got a question in that, because otherwise you're going to, you're going to go forward, and we're not going to be able to actually go back to that point.
Absolutely.
There. A question that came to me is, so these people are 100, the centenarians. Okay, if these they're not living, are they living with a purpose of life, or are they just living life to its full?
Good question, because that wasn't differentiated in what I've been studying. They consider getting up in the morning and going out into their vegetable garden as being a purpose. And they enjoy living that life. They enjoy doing that. So I think it's probably more a question of how do they define purpose? And their purpose is to be happy. Their purpose is to have fun, to stay healthy. It's to have a social network. That's what their purpose seems to be, from what I'm taking away from what I've been studying here.
So is purpose now, or is it purpose future?
As in this time and moment. And that's another part of Ikigai. It's another part of Ikigai, is that the here and now part. It's actually, I think it's number 10 in the rules. The Ikigai rule has 10 rules. And I think it's the number 10 or the number 9 is to live in the here and now, is to not worry about what was going on, or better said, don't obsess over what you did in the past, and don't worry about what's happening in the future. Rather, live in the here and now and take it as it comes and do what you can do in the here and now. I think that is where, there's a lot of overlap with awareness teachings, mindfulness teachings, those kind of things. That's a very big part of Ikigai.
So when we say today to people, young people, I don't know whether, are we talking about because they've got to a certain age that they can do that? Or when we talk about young people, we say, take responsibility for what's happening around you, do something, stand up, whatever whatever needs to be done, whether it's climate change or protesting against wars and so on. So do we just accept things as they are, or do we try and actually mold them to the way we see the world, or we would like to see the world?
It's actually a very good question. Great question. And I'd like to go at it from a different aspect. The aspect of what gives you joy? What gives you joy? Where do you feel like you are contributing? Where do you feel like you are experiencing a feeling of lightness, a feeling of harmony? And when you're talking about something like I don't know, protesting against environmental change or something, right? Climate change. Where are you feeling harmony? Where are you feeling peace? Are you feeling peace when you go out and carry a sign, or do you feel more at peace when you're going out and speaking to people at schools, or talking to, having conversations with let's say leaders in your community or something? Do you get more energy? Where do you draw the energy to be able to do that? And that is where you would be in your Ikigai. If you're angry, if you go out angry, if you go out storming into whatever, doing whatever it is, you're not living in your Ikigai. It's costing you your own peace of mind. It's costing you your relationships, maybe. I mean, I think about here in Germany, I don't know if you guys have that anywhere else, but we have what we called the plasterers. They're plastering themselves to the road. So they're taking heavy duty glue, putting their hands on the ground and plastering themselves to the middle of the road. But it's not just any old road. It's major highways, major intersections in large cities like in Munich or in Berlin or something, and creating incredible traffic jams. So people that have to go to work, people that, there was one woman that went through the news. There was one woman who was, I think she was having a baby. She had a baby in a taxi because the taxi couldn't get there, or the ambulance couldn't get to the hospital because there were people that had glued themselves to the road, and there was no way the ambulance could get anywhere around it. And I'm wondering if, does that give you Ikigai to know that you've caused someone such pain? And yeah, I see, Stephen, what's up? Yeah.
Well, what I was curious about is, I mean, that may be tying into their Ikigai. I mean, their sense of purpose and their sense of community, right? So they're trying to make a difference. They're trying to make a stand. And so that, but I also think that it's a little bit away from the Ikigai in a sense of it's an act of desperation, right? It's an act of, I am in a state of fear. And so please pay attention, right? And I'm going to do something that's extreme. And some of these people are losing limbs, right? They're losing hands, like the person that bound themselves to the airport runway, that they weren't sure how they were going to manage it. I don't know whether the person actually lost their hand or not, but they had bound their hand to the runway, and it's like there were planes coming in and they diverted traffic for several hours. But the person was doing something that they felt deeply about, right? So it's like it's hearing them, but at the same time understanding the consequences to that. So what my understanding is for Ikigai, and that is the name of Ikigai behind my name. I found the Japanese symbol for Ikigai. What I love about Ikigai is this idea of self-reflection. It's understanding what brings joy to you or how you are feeling in the moment. I mean, I think that's that first step of self-awareness. So it's this path to journey towards self-awareness, and then making choices, right? Aligning your life choices that support how you feel, right? What you think about, what you do, those things. And then that idea of living in the present, mindfulness to me is a wonderful space, but it's like finding joy in the small things, right? Even the smallest things. Because I think that's what I'm noticing. We talked about that community a little bit ago. It's the little things that make a difference, right? And so I think with Ikigai, it's not this grand concept of one great life purpose. That's the thing that always overwhelmed me in life, is trying to find my purpose. The purpose can be something as simple as making someone else smile, right? It's simple as how somebody else feels that when they interact with you. So, bringing it back to a more positive thing, I do support all the people that are doing these things because they want to make a statement and they really feel strongly about something. How can we do that in a way that is on the side of strength, on the side of being positive, on the side of, not causing damage, but causing, inspiring? How can we inspire others with this Ikigai?
Brilliant question. And that's where this thing about compass comes in that I've been researching recently. And it's where we see Ikigai, our own Ikigai, as a compass. And we give each area of the compass, north, south, east, west, northeast, southeast, we give those values. We put the values in there. And we say in the North, I have, for example, what have I got here in this book? In the North, I've got respect, you know, if I want respect, but I want to give respect. And if, you know, and in the East, I have attention. So what am I giving attention to? And then all of these balancing, this is a balancing act. And the compass is where we are directing our energy, and we're using the Ikigai, where we find this peace, this value, this sense of life has its worth. You know, I'm thinking about what you were saying, Gary. Recently, you said you find your Ikigai in tennis. You know, when you play tennis, you mentioned that. And I was trying to think, how does that fit in? You know, I was thinking about, it's probably a bit of Zen. You're zoning out, you know, you're zenning out, you're focusing on your body, you're focusing on the ball, the game. You don't worry, but while you're in that moment, you're not worrying about, I don't know, business issues, this issue, that issue, whatever it is. You're not considering that. You're focused on that particular moment at that point in time. And what that actually does, but it includes things like you're trusting that everything's going to be okay while you're out on the tennis court. You know, it's a trust. It's a matter of trust. You're trusting that things are okay. You've decided where your attention is going to go in that particular moment. And I think that when we find our Ikigai and we find out those are the things that help us to be in that moment, that we can transport that into the other areas of our life. So if I were to transport, you know, your tennis court experience and saying that is when I'm in my Ikigai, I would say, okay, I was very attentive. I was very in the moment. I was very trusting that things are going to be like they need to be for this hour or 2 hours that I'm away. I was giving my full attention to that particular game, person, whatever is going on at the moment. And I was in harmony with myself. I was in harmony with the world. I was in harmony with everything else that was going on, even though maybe I was upset because the person on the court next to me kept throwing their ball into my court or something. Those beginners, they were screwing stuff up, but it's not something that was going to throw me off balance, because I felt like I can continue with my own game. So I'm thinking, if we can use an example like that, what is it in our own life where we see our Ikigai making a difference, where we're actually in the zone, where we're actually feeling like this is good, this is good, and then transporting that into that areas of our life where we aren't so sure. And that's where this thing about you know, the Venn diagram, we've all seen the Venn diagram, you know, what I'm good at, what the world will pay for, what I love to do, you know, that kind of, that Venn diagram, those 5 circles that intersect. And I was actually kind of wowed when I saw that that's the scandal I was mentioning earlier, right? It was what was the guy's name? Andreas Tsunaga. He was or is an astrologer from Spain, and he did this 4-circle thing, and he called it the proposition, or the proposito. And it was about purpose or meaning. And he did this in 2012. So it's been 12 years ago already now. And that was his way of, because values were, you know, meaning were actually being lost in society, and that's what he felt like. So things that gave our life meaning earlier, things like religion or family, or the role you have in your company because you're going to be there forever. You start working there when you're 18 and you leave when you're 65, type of thing. And that was losing significance. And he noticed, you know, that's losing significance. And when he did this Venn diagram, it actually got a lot of interest. And then there was this blogger guy named Mark Wynn. He came across this diagram and he found it intriguing and liked it. And at the same time, there was stuff going on in TED Talks, and books were being written about the blue zones. And he connected these blue zones, this Ikigai concept from the centenarians, with the Venn diagram that Tsutsanaga had made, and just put the new word on top of it, Ikigai. This is how you find your Ikigai. And that is how that came to be. And that is how this Venn diagram came to be. And it's not really all that off, to be, totally honest about it, because the principles of Ikigai are really, what are you good at doing? What gives you, what gives you a passion? Where do you see your passion? What's your mission? What is your, what's your profession? Yeah, Gary, go ahead.
Got a question just to, so I heard the word, the sentence, trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Before. I think Steve was talking and he said, we're trying to make a difference. So the question here, is Ikigai focused on you? Is it on you making a difference in social activity, social action? Or is it just making a difference in you, in the way you are, and the way you approach life, and the way you are?
Interesting question.
My question.
Yeah, well, I think the difference is that when you show up, how you show up in the world is how people react to you. How you, so if you show up in the world as an angry, upset person, looking for conflict, or not, not the friendliest person, the Scroogey type, right? You're not actually nice to be around. People don't want to be around you. And what good is that for your community? What good is that for you? Because we as humans, we're tribal. We need people around us. We need others to be, even if we're introverts, we still have a need to belong to our tribe of people. And I think if we're, if we don't have an Ikigai, if we don't have something that gives us joy or pleasure, and we go out into the world with this feeling of I don't know, anger, upset, negative vibes, put it that way, how are we contributing to our communities? And how are we contributing to our own health and our own well-being? And it has something to do with everything, I think. So making a difference, yeah, it's internal and it's external, is what I would say. Does that answer your question, or did I?
Yeah, because I mean, when we talk about meaning and purpose, what's it all about? Why are you trying to grow? Why are you trying to understand yourself? Why are you trying to awaken and transform? What's the purpose? Is there a higher purpose other than yourself? Yes, there is. And so is that what this is Ikigai is about? Because before we were talking as well about the tennis match, that was a flow. That was when you go into that flow state where you don't see, or you don't, nothing matters. I think there's a song by it, Nothing Else Matters. Was there a song?
You're in the here and now. Yeah.
Exactly. So is that Ikigai, or is that you're looking to achieve something?
Okay.
You're not looking to achieve anything. You're just looking to, just immerse yourself into this.
Let me ask you this. When you come back from a tennis game, and you've played tennis, what do you feel like?
What do I feel like, apart from you mean the physical tiredness?
Yeah, anything. What do you feel like?
Well, immediately afterwards, I feel full of adrenaline. So I've got to be brought down.
Okay.
Because I'm still, you've pumped yourself up to go up, 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 and you're still there. That doesn't come down until an hour and a half, 2 hours later that you actually feel the tiredness and maybe some pain, and maybe even reflect on the defeat at that time. Because straight away you don't.
Mm-hmm. So when you come back from, let's say, a tennis match or a tennis game or practicing tennis or whatever it is, you're on a high, you're on an adrenaline high. Is that right?
Yeah.
And if someone were to, let's say, meet up with you, chat with you, run into you, how would you be with them?
On a high.
Yeah. Let's say you just got off the tennis match, you're walking down the street, you're carrying your bags, you're coming back. How are you? How are you when you meet up with someone at that moment?
Ecstatic, or I'm in the flow. So I would be generous, I would be open, I would be present in the conversation in that person. Everything's great for that time as I'm flying high.
Yeah.
So is it, yeah.
So that's your Ikigai.
Hmm.
So that would be your Ikigai.
So do you think it has anything to do with also, like we're talking, it's a Japanese philosophy, Debbie. So Ikigai is a Japanese way of living and a Japanese philosophy and so on. My question is this anything to do with also, is it difficult to transport this into the Western way of living, our lives? How we, is this something that we can incorporate, or is it difficult? Is it impossible?
The cultural aspect is definitely important. Miriam asks, is Ikigai only individualistic? No, it's not, as a quick answer. But okay, so it's a cultural thing that we've inherited, more or less, but we've also inherited yoga, we've inherited Tai Chi, we've inherited karate, we've inherited sushi, that is a way of life or a way of living that we have taken on into our Western culture. And I think it's actually fascinating, because one of the things that stood out for me when I was reading the books and listening to the podcasts and stuff is that our classical Western way of living has been forever. We are creating things for the forever. So we have cathedrals that are built for 1,000 years, The Japanese have buildings that are made out of wood, and some of the shrines and things are burned down after 20 years, because the thing is that they redo it again after 20 years because it's renewed. We renew it, we make it new. And there is definitely a cultural aspect to that, and a cultural aspect of understanding what is the here and now, and how much do we have to do that has to be for forever. It has to stand the test of time for forever. That's a little bit different than what their culture tells us. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if they're used to this continual renovation, change, from a cultural point of view, we in the West are not. We're built to last.
Yeah, that's our goal, is to build things to last. But you know what? How well are we doing with that? How well are we doing that? Who has the most problems with change?
We do.
Well, I don't know if it's we, but it's those that say we're going to keep doing it this way because we've always done it this way. That type of thing. It's where, for example, traditions are a good thing. Traditions are not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. But if a tradition, we're going to do it that way because our tradition says we have to do it that way, but it's not the way it should be done in the future or now, because we've moved on. I don't know, just thinking of things like I want to say it's a very controversial topic, but I want to talk about eating meat, that's what cavemen did. That's what we've done in history, is made animals as part of our nutrition. And these Japanese folks, for example, they eat very, very little meat. They eat fish, maybe because they live on the ocean. I mean, that's right around there, and that's where nutrition comes from for them. But it's not a big part of their daily nutritional whatever they put on their plate. And here, at least where I live, meat comes on the table every single day. It's because it's our tradition. It's because we are a country of farmers and agricultures, and that's what we do, and that's how we do it. And we're, the ones that have the most problem with change are the ones that are going to have difficulty finding, or let's say developing or living in their Ikigai. Because
So
Ikigai,
what I'm hearing from Ikigai, what I'm understanding, I don't know about you, Steve, is this it's way of living. I'm seeing that it's the way, the food, the waking up, the not taking, walking, the way, instead of taking the bus, if there is a bus, there isn't a bus, so you walk. It's like the way of living. Is it like a philosophy? Is it like Buddhism? Or is
no,
it completely different?
no, it's none of that. It's actually none of that, Gary. It's Ikigai is having a purpose for being alive. It's knowing what that purpose for being alive is. It's being aware, discovering what it is that gives your life this feeling of joy and I have a purpose in life. And it has a lot to do with joy and peace and harmony. Has a lot to do with that. Has a lot to do with how I am interacting with myself, with my neighbors, with my family, with my friends. It's this feeling of I am at peace with myself and the world. Put it in a nutshell. I'm at peace with myself and the world. When you get up in the morning, you enjoy getting up in the morning and watching the sunrise, or you enjoy laying in bed a little bit longer and feeling the warm covers and the duvet and something and saying, this is where I feel like it's great to be alive moment. And it's expressing that when you understand what it is, that's how you get it, right? So you know now when you come back from a tennis game and your adrenaline is high and you're feeling great and you're feeling, a little bit exhausted and you're feeling your muscles, but you're feeling alive. You're feeling really alive. And you communicate with others like that. You're energetic, you're generous, whatever words you were saying that you are, right? You're aware of them, you're there. Then that is where your Ikigai, that is how you are expressing your Ikigai. It's not just a single thing. It's about what makes your life worth living, and it's discovering what makes your life worth living. And then it's actually paying attention to what that is, so you can bring that into the other elements of your life. So you can bring that into your profession, bring that into your mission, bring that into your passion, those Venn diagram elements. It's discovering what that is and transporting those values into those elements of your life that need to be addressed, have attention, right? You need to go to work, you need to take care of your family or whatever it is you have to do. And what is it that you can do, what you can bring into these elements of your life from that Ikigai, that what gives yourself a sense of purpose, a sense of being alive, of being here, of being a part of something. What is that? And that's where that comes in. Miriam had I see that there's a question in the chat. I just want to go look at, is Ikigai only individualistic? So the question, Miriam, when I look at the question, I'm not quite sure if I understand it, but I'll try to give you my understanding of my answer from what I understand. Is it's something we do for ourselves, but it impacts our social community. So yes, in a sense, it's individualistic, but it's not just for me. But I'm doing it for me. I do it for me, but it has an impact on everyone around me that I'm interacting with.
So one of the things that I've noticed is, and why this is so important is we're talking about topics that are as important to our human experience as taking in food for our physiology, right? It's like there's a couple things. This is something that I've noticed and gathered from, having connection with people all around the world, we have this need for significance, right? We want to be viewed as being contributing something to this world and having some sort of, purpose in what we're doing. And then the other part is that community, right? Having that connection. And there's a side segment of that, which is the fear of rejection or the fear of being judged. And then there's also this sense of, contribution. We want to do something and have contribution and legacy. So what I've determined is that these are needs as strong as food, right? They're biological needs that we have. And if we don't take care of those, then we'll actually feel some sort of physical response to it. And this is a wonderful way to encapsulate all those needs in one thing. It's the need for purpose, right? It's leaving our footprint on this plane in a way that means something, but then at the same time structuring that in a way where we can feel good about ourselves, right? We have that connection to other members of the community. We have a connection to purpose, and we have a little bit of joy in our lives. So I'm glad that you brought this topic up.
Yeah. And it's true, it's the need for contribution, the need for recognition. That's part of belonging to a tribe, It's because our genetic makeup is that if we were expelled from the tribe way back in Stone Age time or whenever, we were doomed to die. So it's this thing for survival that is somehow exists in us. We want to belong to the group of people. We want recognition from the people that we want to belong to the tribe that we want to belong to. And I think with Ikigai, going back to what I was studying about it, is that, these 100-year-olds and 110 and 120 even, right? They are still getting together and playing games together. There were actually games that they were playing, playing ball with one another and dancing and singing happy birthday to the 101-year-old and things like that. And it was this feeling of togetherness that I'm picking up from all of that. It's this, and even if they ask them, well, how did you get to be so old? Well, I just didn't die. That's what they say. I just didn't die. But when they research why they didn't die, and they find it's the way they've been eating. It's the fact that they've been physically active. Not they're not going to fitness studios and stuff like this. They're not doing physical therapy, but they're piddling around in their garden. They have to walk everywhere they have to go. They have to, one gentleman was interviewed and said that from 7 a.m. until 8:15, he sits on his front doorstep and he greets everyone that walks by, because that's when everybody goes to work. And that's his reason for getting up in the morning, is so that he can smile at them and tell them good morning, have a good day. And at 8:15, he goes inside and has breakfast. And it sounds trivial, but he's, I think, 107 years old or something. And that's his reason for getting up in the morning, is because he has to go do this. He wants to go do this. That gives him a feeling of purpose. And it's actually quite a lovely story. And I think that
it's a lovely, touching story, but I always try to bring it into our reality of young people. Let's say not centenarians, but young people. How can we bring them into the present moment?
I get the question, Gary, and I understand it. And that's the 7 dimensions of Ikigai, and that's to start small. So he's only saying good morning. He's taking 1 hour and 15 minutes and just telling someone good morning. What can you start small? Okay. What can you do? Something small. I don't know. If it's, let's say you get joy from your tennis, right? You get joy from tennis. If you were to start small with tennis, what would that be? What would that be? Just give me an idea.
Actually, it makes me laugh. Would be to actually greet my opponent.
There you go. Right?
I'm laughing because the other day I was talking to a friend of mine who I played tennis with, and he said to me, "Gary, you're a good guy. You're too good." He said, "I know." He said, "When you come on the court," he said, "you want to be friendly and you say hello, have a good game, and so on. But when you get on the court, you've got to destroy your opponent. That's what he said to me. He said, "You're not there to make friends." And I come on the court because my attitude's changed to when it used to be in the past. But I come on and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Where do you play? Do you play in which tennis club do you play in? I haven't played with you before." And, just small chat, and then we start the match. And I said, "Have a good match, and the best one wins." And this other friend of mine who was watching all of this, he said, "It doesn't work like that." So that's what he said. He said that's the way you come on the court. You don't look at your opponent. You go to the other side. You start playing tennis, and you destroy the guy, and that's it.
That's professional.
Coming back to your question, an Ikigai moment could be just greeting my opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't happen all the time. Seriously, when I play with people I don't know, or maybe there's a tennis tournament, and they barely grunt. And then they go to the other side and we start.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that was just sharing something that I experience on a weekly basis when I play tennis. So
yeah. So going back to your question, how would we share this with young people from today or people that are in business today, right? And one of the things was to start small.
Take my son, Debbie. Let's take my son as an example. He's 16.
Okay.
He's 16. So if I said to him, spend 1 hour just greeting people, saying hello, he would just think I've come off another planet, right? He would say an hour. He doesn't even say hello to me, let alone an hour to greeting other people. So how do we get to these young people? We want to start from the bottom.
Well, okay. First, we would have to ask these young people, what gives them a feeling of they had a good day today? What was a good day? Describe a good day, example. Give me an example of what was a good day for you. And then you find out what was the values that are behind that good day. So they say, I had this absolutely stunning basketball game, and Tony gave me an incredible pass, and I made a slam dunk, and it was absolutely brilliant. And so what are the values behind that, And that is to start small, is to find out what are the values behind this absolutely fantastic basketball game day that they had. It was a sense of camaraderie. It was a sense of I won. It was a sense of, accomplishment. It was a sense of being a part of something. It was a sense of, I don't know, physical exercise, really getting the adrenaline out or something. What are those elements, right? And then that is the start small part. And then where can you take these elements and put them into going to school, going into your internship, whatever it is? What is it? What is that small part that you can transport into this part of your life, this other part of your life? That's one way. And the other thing is that what didn't work, right? So what can I let go of? What do I need to let go of? So while I was on the basketball court, Mike came over and he bullied me around, and I had an argument with Mike, and then I had an argument with the referee because it wasn't working for me. And okay, what can you let go of that part? Can you just say, Mike, just let it be. You and I aren't going to get along. We're going to call it a day, and we're just going to continue to play instead of getting into an argument, right? So what can I let go? So you ask your son, what was good? Basketball game, awesome. Extract the values out of that, and then find out what wasn't working, and then say, that's a part you can let go of going forward, right? And that actually leads us to the next part, is where you're striving towards harmony and a sustainability in your connections, in your life, and in your health and your own peace of mind. You're looking for that sustainability. And then when you've done all of that, all of a sudden you realize, oh, I can be joyful about this little small thing. I can actually find joy in that. And when you've done all of these steps and you come back and you say, wait a minute, next time I'm in a game, I'm in a basketball game, I get another pass from Tony, I make this awesome slam dunk, and all of a sudden I remember in the here and now that this is what was doing well last time we played. And this is actually, back pounding, guy hugs, right? Where you say, oh, this was actually brilliant. And then take these elements, and when you can break down these elements and move them into going to work with your family, raising your kids. That's where we can integrate the Ikigai, that Ikigai compass into our lives, using these values that we take out of the elements of something that was really brilliant for us.
I think as coaches, as people, as on a path of personal development, we have the skills and the tools for this. But there are a lot of people out there who are walking around in the dark, and when you ask them their values and moments and what they're taking away from situation, lessons and lessons learned, they're looking at you thinking, "What lesson are we talking about here?"
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the question that you have to ask. You as the coach, when you're trying to help someone, or you are, even if you're doing this on your own and you're going into reflection, Stephen mentioned this earlier, you know, that it's a moment of reflection. When you, if you're on your own, you're all by yourself, someone is watching this video in a year's time from now, and they say, oh, I've never heard of this, or whatever it is. And they say, oh, I had an absolutely crappy day today. So you say, okay, it was crappy. What was crappy? And you write it down and you say, okay, so what was one thing in there that went well? So, okay, I didn't cry. I didn't cry. I didn't go hide in the bathroom. Whatever it is that it was, right? And you can say, okay, I can start small. So in the future, I'll say, you know, where is it? What is it that touched me? What is it that made me so vulnerable at that moment in time that I wanted to cry, but I didn't? So I'm aware of it now. So I can let go of that that's holding me back. And how will that help me get to more harmony and more peace in my life? How can I sustain that peace in my own life going forward? And then I can be thankful for that moment. You know, I can discover that joy in that one little small thing. And then the next time it comes up, I'm going to be in the here and now because I was aware of that particular moment. And I'm able to capture it before it takes a life of its own. You nodded. Makes sense?
Yeah. There's a question from Sandy Sin. Can you see that, Debbie? Would you?
Yeah, I see it. Sandy came in. Would you say the small thing is build on what works for you to do more of that, and what doesn't work, do less? The purpose of this mindset is to create harmony in our lives. I don't know, Sandy, what would you say? You know, what works for you, do more of it, and what doesn't work, do less. How does that fit in with your community, with your social connections, with with your interactions? We're not alone here, right? So I mean, of course I want to do what works for me. Makes sense, you know? I really do think I should be doing what works for me and not, you know, not trying to be a people pleaser. But on the other hand, where can I go into a compromise, or where is there a win-win to be sought for? And how does this harmony, how would I create harmony if I'm doing just for me? The thing I want to do is I want to live in harmony with others. If I'm living in harmony with my environment, with my relationships, with the people around me, I'm going to be happier. They're going to be happier, and all of us are going to be happy. And you know.
And how can you be how would you know they're happy and living in harmony? Because that's what you. The question is like referring to we can only do things on ourselves, right?
Yeah, we can't change someone else. No, we cannot change anyone else. It's hard enough to change ourselves. It's impossible to change someone else. But how would we know? I mean, just think about it. Let's think about it. Let's go into, let's go into this feeling of you go into a room and you're the latest, you're the person who came in the latest. You get a feeling for the vibes there. Are people there happy? Are they enjoying themselves? Is it a fun place to be? Are you welcomed when you come in? Or do you feel tension, restrained anger, upset? What do you feel, you know, when you go in there? When you go into this room, you're the one that's coming into the room and everybody else is there already. You can feel that. And if there's harmony going on in the room and people are, you are going to be enveloped in that harmony. And if you haven't even said a word, you just walked in the room and you see that they're angry or they're upset or there's, some kind of sadness or something going on. You haven't said a word, but you're going to take on that feeling as well, probably. Most people do. We go in, we notice the energy. And if we think about it, that we're part of the whole. So we are coming in as part of the whole. So if we come in and we are at peace with ourselves, with our surroundings, with the world, we are going to be spreading a little bit of that to others. And if we are angry or sad, we're going to be spreading that to other people as well. And I think that understanding what makes us happy is giving us the ability, the awareness of having an understanding of what makes us happy, is giving us the tools to be able to recreate that. And that's, I think, my understanding of what Ikigai is. Ikigai is understanding what is it that gives me, this feeling of belonging, this feeling of having a purpose, this feeling why I'm getting up in the morning. We were talking before we started a little bit about how I've started, researching this and started reading this and stuff, and what change that it's had for me, actually. And I started reading this in December. It was just by chance that I picked the book up and said, wait a minute, this is controversial. This is controversial, because I was looking, I was familiar with the Venn diagram and the 5 things, and I was thinking, this is kind of weird. So I've been researching and reading other stuff and listening to other stuff. And one of the things that I noticed, I get into my Ikigai when I do stuff with my hands, not just with my head. I have to, I like the creative part of it. So I actually started knitting and crocheting again, and that was something that I used to do. And I used to think of it as, I don't know, just doing something like that's what my grandmother taught me how to do, right? And that's what I did as a young girl. But now I see it as a creative outlet. And I'm not actually looking to create something. I don't have a pattern that I'm working on or something. And I did start something. I think I've taken it apart like 5 or 6 times, unraveled it because it wasn't what I wanted. And I finally found what I wanted to do with it. But it's the process of doing something with my hands, turning in, doing this creative thing. And that's giving me a sense of Ikigai. And that's where I'm finding peace for myself.
Yeah, I can relate to something like that on a level of energy.
Yeah.
When you're doing a creative energy, when you're bringing gratitude, you're bringing openness, you're bringing connection. I think that's this energy that we're putting out there that maybe we don't see it, we don't feel it, but as you say, you could even go into a room if you're at peace with yourself and there's a lot of anger around you, you're bringing peace. And I think that's probably what for me is Ikigai is probably also that, like my sports and my being friendly and trying to connect with my opponent is not because I want an advantage, but it's just emanating that energy of I'm happy to be here. Mm-hmm. And also the fact is, if my opponent pushes me as hard as he can, he's actually doing me a favor because he's helping me go to the next level.
Yeah.
Rather than me just winning, is for me to have the opponent who pushes me to my limits, let's say. Mm-hmm. So again, thanking the opponent, say, listen, you won or I won or whatever, but we actually gave our all. I think that's also an awareness trip there. Mm-hmm. So listen, we're coming to the end. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie stood in today because our topic facilitator was held up with other commitments. So thank you very, very much, Debbie.
Pleasure.
I think Ikigai is something that we could talk for a long time. I think we've got lots to sort of dig up there, but we'll bring you on again the next time. Next week, we've got a person called Om Varshani. Om Varshini coming on, and he's going to be talking about artificial intelligent developments.
Oh, cool.
So he's an expert. That's what he does. He talks about artificial intelligence. So I've invited him to come along. So that's going to be next Tuesday, the 30th of February, 5 to 6 p.m. Central European Time, to CET. That's 1 hour, I think, being 1 hour ahead of UTC. But anyway, find your time zones. So thank you again. Thanks for coming. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, Mariam, Sandy, Debbie, thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.